Imagine this, I'm seated at a high-end restaurant, a place where I was supposedly invited to dine with my in-laws. Before me sits a solitary glass of water, its pristine clarity mocking the elaborate meals being enjoyed by everyone else at the table. The air is filled with the clinking of cutlery, the hum of contented chatter, and the occasional murmur of appreciation for the exquisite dishes. But all I have is water. Just water. You should be grateful for that water, my mother-in-law quips, her voice dripping with a saccharine superiority. The water here is top-notch, you know, fancy place, fancy water. It tastes amazing. I am Chloe, a hard-working woman who's poured her life into a sales career since graduating college. My parents, relentless in their pleas for me to marry, finally wore me down. At 37, I met Ricky, 5 years my junior, through a matchmaking service. We tied the knot, and I thought, maybe this would bring peace. But life had other plans. Ricky's company collapsed in an economic downturn, leaving him unemployed. We agreed he'd manage the household while job hunting, but months passed with no progress. I worked overtime, juggling performance bonuses and the endless pressure of being the sole breadwinner. Meanwhile, Ricky seemed unbothered, lounging at home, indulging in expensive hobbies, and burning through his savings. Tensions mounted. Why not get a part-time job? I suggested. His reply was curt, it's not viable for my future. Arguments over money became routine, draining whatever harmony we once had. When his parents began sending him financial help, it only deepened the rift between me and them. Then came a surprising gesture. Ricky invited me to dinner at a renowned local restaurant. His parents would join, he explained, but this was his treat. I've taken a part-time job, he confessed with a sheepish grin. This is my way of making amends. For the first time in months, hope flickered. But that hope shattered the moment we arrived. Something was amiss. The staff exchanged uneasy glances as my mother-in-law led us to a private room, her smile eerily triumphant. Inside, she directed everyone to their seats with practiced precision. Mine, as always, was closest to the entrance, a subtle but deliberate slight. As the first course was served, the waiter hesitated, clearly confused. My mother-in-law gestured grandly. Him first, she announced, pointing to my father-in-law, then me, and finally our son. Plates laden with culinary artistry were placed before everyone except me. Excuse me, I interjected politely after the waiter finished describing the dishes. I haven't received my meal yet. My mother-in-law's laughter rang out, sharp and cruel. Oh, Chloe, you're too much. You think you're entitled to a meal when you weren't even invited properly? Water is more than enough for someone as audacious as you. And not just any water, this is fancy water. You should be grateful. My cheeks burned, but I forced myself to remain calm. I'm happy to pay for the water and leave, I said, my voice steady despite the storm raging within. $11,000 for that water, she sneered, a smirk curling her lips. Consider it a bargain for the privilege of being here. Their laughter echoed as I rose, leaving them to their charade. At the entrance, the waiter approached me, his expression sympathetic. I can prepare something else for you, he offered. His kindness was a small balm to my bruised spirit, but I declined. No, thank you, I replied, handing over the payment. I'll just settle the bill and go. As I walked out, their laughter followed me like a haunting melody, each note a reminder of the betrayal I'd just endured. When they told me the water was free, I walked out of the restaurant without hesitation. Ricky's behavior today was the final nail in the coffin, confirming what I had known deep down for a while. I needed to divorce him. For too long, I had endured his joblessness, his refusal to even try, and the manipulations that followed when he realized money wouldn't magically appear. Teaming up with his parents to blame me for everything? That was his master plan? Today's harassment sealed the deal. There wasn't a shred of love left in me for him, and I knew I couldn't remain married to this man. The moment I stepped into the house, I started packing. I didn't care about leaving things behind. My new life wouldn't need a trace of Ricky. Honestly, Our home wasn't even mine. It was filled with his hobbies, his clutter. My things? Barely enough to fill a suitcase. I had been quietly saving money since his business collapsed, unsure how long we'd be in financial limbo. That foresight was my ticket out. I grabbed my old college travel suitcase, stuffed in what I needed, and left for a hotel. For the first time in ages, I felt like I could breathe. The next morning was a revelation. I savored the hotel breakfast, fluffy eggs, fresh fruit, and coffee that wasn't instant. No more sad slices of dry toast at home, a casualty of our tight budget. This felt like freedom. By the time I headed to work, I was buoyant, even stopping at the city office to pick up divorce papers. Just filling out my part was empowering. I hadn't realized how miserable I had been until now. The weight lifting off my shoulders was almost physical. Work started like any other day, but a commotion in the neighboring department soon caught my attention. At first, I ignored it, but the noise grew louder, closer. Then, like a storm crashing into the room, they arrived, Ricky and his parents. My heart sank as they stood at the entrance, their faces twisted with anger. Ricky shouted first, his voice cutting through the stunned silence. "You think you can just run away? Mom and Dad said they'd forgive you if you apologize." I stood frozen, disbelief and fury washing over me. Then his mother, the queen of drama, hurled a receipt at me and screeched, "You owe $1,000 for that water. What kind of trap have you set for us, you disgrace of a wife?" She ranted, her voice shrill and venomous, while Ricky egged her on. His father? He just stood there, avoiding eye contact like the coward he was. How far were they willing to go? Why should I pay for anything? I demanded, my voice steady despite the chaos. I'm no longer part of your family, and I don't appreciate being harassed at work. Keep this up, and I'll call the police. That hit a nerve. Ricky, red-faced and enraged, grabbed a computer monitor and raised it as if to strike. His mother followed suit, slamming a phone to the ground, shouting threats all the while. The room erupted in chaos, screams, gasps, people backing away from the madness. And then, as if the universe had my back, the police burst in, summoned by someone in a neighboring office. Ricky's reaction? He blamed me. "You called them," he roared, before lunging at me. His punch connected with my face, sending shockwaves of pain through me. But the officers were quick, they tackled him to the ground in a blur of uniforms and cuffs. It felt surreal, like a scene ripped from a TV drama. Later, at the police station, it all came to a head. My company filed reports for the damage Ricky and his family had caused, while I sought legal advice. Divorce negotiations were messy, his lawyer was as stubborn as he was, but in the end, we settled. No division of assets, a payment for emotional distress, and the cherry on top? Ricky now had a criminal record. As for his parents, their lives crumbled too. Their harassment, their arrogance, it all backfired. When rumors spread about their workplace antics, they lost their jobs despite being close to retirement. Financially drained and publicly disgraced, they retreated into obscurity. And me? I'm thriving. My parents, once relentless about marriage, now understand my hesitation. I've thrown myself into work, earning new projects and recognition. For the first time in years, my days feel fulfilling, my future bright. Walking away wasn't just the right choice, it was the best decision of my life. Looking back, I realized I'd spent too long sacrificing my happiness, convincing myself things would get better. But walking away from that toxic chapter wasn't just about leaving, it was about reclaiming me. Every step I've taken since has felt lighter, freer, and filled with possibility. I've stopped worrying about societal timelines, about what others think, and most importantly, about trying to please people who never valued me. Instead, I'm pouring my energy into building a life that reflects who I truly am. Every project I take on at work, every small joy in my daily routine, each one feels like a victory. Now, I'm embracing the future on my terms, grateful for the lessons learned and ready for whatever comes next. I didn't just survive Ricky and his family, I thrived. And for the first time in a long time, I'm excited about the road ahead.